What is up, guys? Okay, so today we're going to be studying the bones of the skeleton because I actually have a lab practical coming up, so I'm going to be showing you guys some of the parts of the bone I have to study today, and yeah, let's jump right in. Okay, so currently I marked off some of the main parts of the bone that we're going to be tested on using pins. So there's going to be a lot of pins, so don't be surprised. That's usually how all these human anatomy and physiology lab tests are. There's usually a lot of information, so I'll just show you guys that right now. So these are, as you can see from this view, there's a bunch of pins on this skeleton, and these are the structures that are highlighted in my lab handout to study and to know straight from sight what they are. So let's begin from the skull. I'm going to go through each one by one. Just going to study. So I think that's the frontal bone. Yep. This is the mandible. I think this is the vomer. Yeah, vomer. Superior foramen. Supraorbital foramen. Supraorbital margin. Okay. Infraorbital margin. Yep. This is the foramen on the mandible. So it's a mental foramen. Mental equals chin. Okay. Can I do this? Yeah, supraorbital margin. This is your maxillary bone. Infraorbital margin. Infraorbital foramen. Okay. Now we are looking at, I forgot to say that this is an anterior view of the skull, and this is a lateral view of the skull. Well, it kind of looks like a mohawk on top of his head. So this is, we have to memorize some of the sutures on the skull. So this suture would probably be the squamous suture. Yep, squamous. I apologize. I have a bit of a cold, so in case it's really hard to understand what I'm saying. Is the external acoustic meatus right down there? It's where the, or let me just draw it right down there. That's where the that's where your ear would go through. Okay. Next is this right here would be the sphenoid bone. Yep. And then right below the sphenoid bone, this would be the temporal bone of the zygomatic bone. Temporal process of zygomatic bone, which means the one right next to it would be the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. And then this little pointing thing down here of the skull, I believe that's the styloid process. mastoid process. Yeah, I'm a bit fuzzy on some of these things, but don't worry. It's just a review session, guys. Mastoid process. So this would be when you see like a little puzzle on your suture, that would be the sutural bone. And this is the lambdoidal suture. The back of your skull is your occipital bone. Okay, yeah, we got a couple. Okay, let's see. Top of your. Okay, now we're looking at this. Oh yeah, this view of the skull would be considered a posterior view. So this is a superior view of the skull. This suture in the middle would be a sagittal suture. And this is the parietal bone. And this suture right here on the crown of the skull would be the coronal suture. To zoom in a bit. Back to the lateral view. So this bone right here, this is the, I believe this is the temporal bone, temporal squama. So that part right there is the temporal squama. The rest of the bone would be considered the temporal bone. That's a better view. Your mandible. Oh, okay, so this part of your mandible stretching to the maxilla, that is your ramus. A great way to remember this is, I guess your ram is biting. Ram likes to bite head. That's how I usually try to remember it, because the ramus is biting onto the rest of the skull. So the part where the mandible attaches to the skull, this part is called mandibular fossa. It's called mandibular because it's the mandible connecting to fossa, which is an opening. Okay, now we're going to go a bit into the interior of the skull. So let's just remove some of the parts here. Okay, so let's try and get a better view of this. So this is the interior of the skull. You can easily see the sphenoid bone over there. It looks a lot like a bat. So the parts of the inside of the skull include the foramen rotundum, which is a little circle opening at the bottom there. There's the foramen ovale, which is another little opening, small opening across the midline of the inside of the skull. Then there's the what's this? Sorry. The optic foramen. I believe this optic foramen is, you can probably see this. Yeah, it's connected to the inside of the skull right there, so that little opening right there is the optic foramen. In this middle line right here, this is the sella turcica. Very important thing to know. It can be easily used as a trick question on a lab exam. This would be the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, and this would be your olfactory foramen. Olfactory means nose, so it would be, I guess, an opening for the nose. This is the cribriform plate. And yeah, okay. We went through the interior of the skull. Now let's get through the bit of a posterior view, probably. On my recent quiz, this was actually not titled the cribriform plate. It was actually titled, let me just label it here, the ethmoid bone. So that's a trick question. So the ethmoid bone consists of the crista galli. So don't get that point right there confused with crista galli. That's actually the ethmoid bone. So I believe the crista galli would be somewhere around here, around the sides. So that's would be the crista galli. Just return. Reset. Okay. Now we're going to label some of the lower parts of the skull. So that the this opening right here is the supraorbital foramen. Oh no, that would be the foramen magnum. Yeah, foramen magnum. Next, what do we have? Okay. Next is, okay, so this part of the skull right here, these little white things right there, those are called occipital condyle. So this is the part that articulates with your atlas that makes your head move up and down. And this pointy thing right here, right there, would be considered, I believe, your styloid process, if I'm not mistaken. Mandibular fossa. Let me just try to get a better view. The bottom. Okay, so that part of this part, if you could move your tongue and touch the top of your mouth, you'll be touching the palatine bone, or the hard palate. And the back is called, oh, just the palatine bone. The back is just called the palatine bone. Let's see if I got everything. Is that over there? Oh, that's foramen tandem. We already did that. And yeah, we went through the whole skull. Now let's go through going down from our skull, continuing the story. We have our vertebrae. So this would be your atlas. Your atlas, a great way to memorize your atlas is that it looks a lot like a spaceship. So if you can have a pretty good imagination, remember it. There's some wings. Looks like kind of like a policeman badge. The white stuff is like its thrusters. So let's try and label some parts. So this is obviously an atlas. And this part right over here, that's called the occipital condyle. So that's the part that's articulating with the skull. That's our atlas. Below that is the axis that allows us to make that, to rotate our head about 180 degrees if you do 360, you are an owl. But the atlas, it looks a lot like a pizza to me. But I don't know, some people say it looks like a cobra. Actually, now that I'm looking at it from this point of view, it kind of does look like a cobra. So just think a snake is wrapping around the axis of the earth. It covers circumference of, but sadly it covers a circumference of about 180 degrees. So that'd be a good way to memorize it. So your axis has a bit of a dens, which is poking out, which this dens allows the motion of the head of the skull. The little wings of the axis are called, oh, I just labeled the axis, okay. So those are the only two things from my handout that I had to memorize, or that you probably might have to memorize for your axis. It's just that you have an axis and you have a dens. Okay. Continuing on the vertebra, we have, oh yeah, I forgot these guys right here. These are all cervical bones right below the axis. So we're trying to get a better view of a cervical bone. So if you were to look at a cervical bone, it'd probably look like this. Looks a lot like some people thought it looked. Some of my friends, they thought a great way to memorize it is that it looks like a Thor, like his helmet or something like that. But I think it looks like a cross inserted into a rock, and it's missing its bottom portion, probably, or I mean its top portion of the cross. Yeah. Okay. So this part of this cervical vertebra, specifically C7, the one we're looking at right now, that part is called this. Oh, that's the cervical. Okay, it is an example of a cervical bone. So this part. Oh, actually, this next labels are on the next bone. So let's just try and get to that. Thoracic. Okay. The thoracic vertebra has. Let's see. Try and find the label thoracic. Okay. So apparently there's no label on this thoracic. I should probably label it myself. Thoracic vertebra. So important things to know about the thoracic vertebra is that it has a spinous process. That thing sticking out. Wings are kind of curved up like this. It has a vertebral foramen, so that's where the vertebra goes in through. If you look at it from a superior view, it kind of looks like a bird is about to take flight outside of a rock. So different from our previous cervical bone we were looking at, where it looks a lot like a cross inserted into a rock. This thoracic vertebra looks like a bird was inserted into a rock. So there's a vertebral foramen, and the top parts, this top part right here is titled a vertebral arch. Okay, going lower down the vertebral spine, we have another thoracic vertebra. Okay, what's special about this one? Okay, yeah, so it's a thoracic. Okay, oh, I think I just marked this off for example, because it looks like the same thing. It has wings. It looks like a bird is flying out of a rock. Okay. Have anything marked on this? Oh, Oh, so this is the part of the thoracic vertebra that connects to the rib. So this is the transverse process. Okay, lower down the spine we have lumbar vertebra. So lumbar vertebra looks like, actually it looks even more like a cross. Looks like a spaceship taking flight now. Not much of a curved wings, but looks more like an airline is coming out. Sorry about that. I dropped something in the middle of the recording. Oh man, these are just getting worse. But don't worry, I'm just doing this as a bit of a review. Going to do a better version in a future video. Just one more cover. Probably be a bit healthier, but okay, so moving on to the arm. So this whole arm is called the humerus, and the bulging out part on the top, that's called your greater tubercle. This is your lesser tubercle, and the part that attaches to your, or the part of the scapula that your humerus attaches to, that's your glenoid cavity, and the part of your humerus that attaches to your scapula's glenoid cavity is the head of your femur. Humerus, head of your humerus, your femur, your femur that is on your, that is your leg. So the whole thing is called a humerus. Okay, did we cover everything on both humeruses? Let's see. I believe that's the only notes we made. Yep, that's the only notes we made for it. Okay, moving on down the arm appendage, we have our little trochlea. Or, I'm getting it mixed up. Okay, for trochlea, that's for your leg portion. It's on your femur. I think I can even, yeah, we'll get to trochlea soon, but this is your capitulum. It is on your humerus. Then we have, on the back, you have, this is a fossa, the olecranon fossa. The olecranon fossa connects to the olecranon of your ulna. Your olecranon process of your ulna. So don't get mixed up. So you have a radius and an ulna, are the two parts of your arm. Your ulna, however, is the bigger portion. It looks a lot like a wrench. There's a bit of a styloid process on the bottom. So your ulna, some parts, main parts of the ulna. I'm trying to get to the better view of the wrench. So the top part is called the coronoid process. The lower portion of the wrench is the coronoid process. The top portion is the olecranon process. Okay. So we know that this is your, oh wait, I might have actually, I said it wrong. So the trochlea is actually in your arm. I actually did some research on this. So your humerus has the trochlea, but this little ball, wait, let me just outline it. This little ball thing right here is your capitulum. Your capitulum is connected to your trochlea. Yeah, don't get that confused. That is your trochlea. Okay. Oh, so the bottom part of your humerus is called the lateral epicondyle. So this is what you use to move your arm up and down. So say you're lifting weights at the gym. If you're moving your arm, your radius and ulna up and down to lift a weight, you're using your lateral epicondyle of your arm. So this would be your medial epicondyle, Oh yeah, epi equals above, condyle is like those things that move up and down. Yeah, okay, I think I went through the whole Krenin stuff. Let's see if I have any notes on the lateral portion. So that's your radius, or yeah, your radius, and your radius has a neck. Isolate this real quick. Just give you guys a better view. Lateral, posterior, medial. Okay. So important things that are important in lab when you're thinking of a radius is the head, the neck, and tuberosity, radial tuberosity. That's a little bump right there. It's your radial tuberosity. Okay. And the bottom of course of your, don't get this confused, malleolus is for leg, the styloid process is for arms or superior portions of your body. So you have a styloid process there. That's how you know it's an ulna. There's a bit of a sharp portion right there. Moving on to the hand. At the hand we have so a great way to remember this is the scaphoid always connects to the thumb, so this is our thumb, so this is our scaphoid. Two things to know, we need to know in our lab is scaphoid and lunate. Then this thing right here is your lunate. Okay. And down from our lunate we have our metacarpals. So all 5 of these, all 5 of these, this one, that one, that one, and that one. These are all metacarpals, and these parts of the finger going down would be the phalanges. The metacarpals describe your palm. If you can see your palm, you're looking at where your metacarpals are at, basically. Okay, now we went through the whole arm to the ribs. So this part of our rib is the body, and let me just isolate a rib real quick so we can have a bit of a better view of what we're looking at. So this is the body of the rib, and if we're looking, it's usually so this portion right here, that portion is not the part that connects to your vertebra. Your vertebra is the part that's right over here. It's usually has a bit of a bump on the top. That's how you know it's connecting. So as you can see, there's a bit of a bend right there, a bit of a bend. So that would be your facet. Oh no, that would be the head of your rib, and that's the neck. So you have a head, neck, and body of your rib. And if we were to look at this, viewing the entire rib, so the part that connects your rib to the head of your rib to your vertebra is the facet of thoracic vertebra. So there's the part that the head of the rib binds to this facet of the thoracic vertebra. Okay. Moving on to our pelvis. We have the ilium. our ilium ilium, and our ilium consists of a iliac fossa and an iliac crest. Oh yeah, continuing from our vertebra talk, so this bottom portion of the vertebra, this is your sacrum, and below your sacrum is your coccyx, and at the very bottom you have your, also your coccyx is made of 4 coccygeal vertebrae, so if you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that make up your coccyx, but I've heard cases where people found 5 making up their coccyx. So this would be your pubis. Okay. This would be your ischium, the bottom portion of your. Let me just isolate this right hip real quick, so we can get a bit of a better view. So this would be your ischium. And this very bottom portion would be your ischial tuberosity. You can see it's a bit of a bump right there. Pubis. Okay. So this would be, if you were to look at this part of the hip, this would be a medial view. This would be a lateral view. So the lateral view looks like a lot like a mushroom. Medial view, you have these little auricular surfaces. That's how you know you're looking at the medial or the inside. If you see this little hole, okay. I remember there was a title. Oh yeah. So this little opening is called an obturator foramen. Continuing on, we are going down all the way now to the femur. Yeah, the femur. That is your left femur also. Before I isolate this, okay. So the part that connects to your pelvis of the femur is the head. Then you have this little bump right here. That's the greater trochanter. Okay. Greater trochanter. Did I make any notes on that? Okay, I did. Okay. So so you have your greater trochanter, and then going down your femur we have. So it has no trochlea. Okay, don't get that mixed up. Your humerus has your trochlea, that rectangular thing, and your capitulum, which is a ball type thing. So at the bottom of your femur you have a patellar surface. This is the part where your knee pad is at, or your patella. So this is your medial, just like very similar to our humerus, we have a medial epicondyle and a lateral epicondyle, which allow us to move, different from lifting weights. These allow us to move our leg or our shins up and down. Okay. Speaking of our patella, there it is right now. Here's a patella. Luckily we don't have to know how to distinguish from right from left, because that would be crazy. Okay, now we are moving on. Just get our. We are moving on to our tibias and our fibulas. Very important parts. So our tibia is obviously the bigger shin bone. So we have, your tibia is made up of intercondylar eminence, and yeah, these are both intercondylar eminence. Use areas here at the top. intercondylar eminences. Okay, and then on the side, that would be the lateral epicondyle, medial epicondyle. Yep, it also has lateral medial. And then so yeah, this is your tibia, these big things. And we have our tibial tuberosity over there, a little bit of a bump, if you can see a little bump. And an anterior crest. Okay, moving on. So the smaller portion of our shins, we have our fibula. So important things to know about our fibula, not much to know. We just have a head that should be about, if I'm not mistaken, that should be the only important. Oh, yeah, I think that's it. So for your tibia, you have the bigger portion. You have a bit of a point there at the bottom, really hard to miss. This little point, this little point right here, that is your medial malleolus. As I said before, your humerus has a styloid process. Or, I mean your ulna has a styloid process. Your tibia has a medial malleolus. It has a malleolus. So they're both processes. They're both sharp processes at the tip of the bone. But these are malleolus is at the bottom of your tibia, which is on your legs, and styloid processes on your arms, which is very different. So your radius has a bit of a shape. It's kind of a circular type on the bottom. This part is called your lateral malleolus. So your radius also has a malleolus, but because your radius is more on the outside portion of your body, that it's lateral, and its pointed part is also a malleolus because it's on the leg appendages. Okay, we have finally reached our feet after going through that whole thing. Okay, so this portion right here, this is your trochanter, or wait, these are your tarsals, or your talus. That's your talus. These are your this is your calcaneus talus. Important things to know for the foot. Your metacarpals, metatarsals. Okay, that's another important thing. Carpals is for hand, tarsals is for feet. Metatarsals are the, if you were to look at your foot, you're not looking at your toes, the very below your toes, that whole flat area of your foot, the top portion, that is your metatarsals, and at your foot, your phalanges going down. And that's it, guys. We went through the whole skeletal system. That's what's going to be, at least on my, or those are the things I need to know for at least my lab practical. I hope this helped you. Help you learn a bit about your skeleton. Oh yeah, I forgot to say this part right here. That's your nasal concha. So it looks kind of like a conch shell right there. Just wanted to point out that small thing. Looks like I missed that. And then oh my word, it looks like I missed the sphenoid bone. Okay. Oh, that's your zygomatic. Wait, let me try and get the sphenoid, because it looks like it wasn't showing when I opened the skull a while ago. So your sphenoid bone, of course, looks like a lot like a bat. So you got your pterygoid process down there. You got your foramen ovale, your foramen rotundum, your optic foramen, that's the inside of your eye, right there, this little circle right there, optic foramen of your eye. As I said before, this is your sella turcica, don't forget that, the middle lump. And then you see your cribriform plate, ethmoid bone, olfactory foramen, and of course your crista galli is on this little area right here. But mainly, the name you need to know for that is your ethmoid bone. So just fix that. And yeah, guys, we went through the whole skeletal system. I hope this helped you with your study for your lab practical. Thanks for watching.